Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of COSA-TV as we get set to preview the Pepsi North America Cup. Yes, it's coming up this Saturday night from Woodbine Mohawk Park in Campbellville, Ontario. The $1 million main event highlighting a fantastic 13-race program that is absolutely chock full of Grand Stakes action. So we're looking forward to talking a lot about that this evening. We've got a couple of special guests getting set to join us. Driver Yannick Gingras, he'll be sitting behind the expected favorite in the event in Tall Dark Stranger, and Bob McClure, who guided last week's other elimination winner but has opted to go elsewhere. We'll talk more with him, and we'll handicap the race and a whole lot more. So lots to get to over the next hour or so. Before we get started, though, let's pass along our poll question to you. And it's a pretty simple one. We want to know if Tall Dark Stranger can make Nancy Tactor only the first female in the history of the Pepsi North America Cup to win back-to-back titles. Of course, capturing it last year with Captain Crunch, and she looks to score once again with Tall Dark Stranger this year. We want to ask you if you think she will indeed do that or not. Will somebody upend the probable favorite? And have your say. Leave a comment for us during the show tonight. You'll be automatically entered for a grand prize draw coming up in our season finale this year on COSA-TV for that urban e-bike. Compliments of our good friends at hoofbid.com. As well tonight, a special contest for anyone who comments during the show. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Give us your thoughts on the Pepsi NA Cup or anything else tonight during the show. And everyone who comments automatically entered for a draw for a $100 HPI Bet gift card. And hoping to get that out in time following the show tonight to our winner, so you can play along with us this weekend on that fabulous Pepsi NA Cup program. So a lot to get to tonight, but first of all, we wanted to set the stage for the Pepsi North America Cup final and take you back to last weekend's pair of eliminations. And Woodbine Entertainment's Paul Salvalaggio puts together
and Captain Treacherous rushes up on the far outside. Betting line will rally to score in Cup 33. Captain Crunch and Zeron with a rebound score in the Pepsi North America Cup.
This Saturday marks the 37th edition of Canada's richest harness racing event. It's the $1 million Pepsi North America Cup. On the heels of two hard-fought eliminations comprised of 15 hopefuls, here's a look at how the final 10 secured the honor of drawing their post positions in this Saturday's classic showdown. One length is all that separated the top 5 finishers in the first elimination contest. As Yannick Gingras guided the 1-5 favorite Tall Dark Stranger through the backstretch and into the final turn, his rivals began to unwind, challenging the 2020 Meadowlands Pace champion toe-to-toe and from all sides. Ken Middleton captures the moment.
Tall Dark Stranger brings it into the stretch. Beaumont Hanover on the outside into second. Rail is opening up for Odds and Osiris from in third now. And off cover comes Captain Midnight. Tall Dark Stranger on the inside, still there, standing his ground. Scooting up the inside, Odds on Osiris. Powering up off cover comes Captain Midnight. Tall Dark Stranger in the center for Gingras. Outside, Captain Midnight. Tall Dark Stranger at the inside, trying to fend off pressure for a 148-4 score.
The horse just refused to lose. He's just a winner, and you know, at top halfway down the stretch, I thought he'd definitely be beat, but you know, he just keep putting his nose in front.
Trainer Nancy Tactor looks to become the first trainer in 26 years to win back-to-back Pepsi North America Cups. In the second elimination, 3-5 favorite Allywag Hanover took command out of the first turn, leading the group of 7 through 3/4 and formidably into deep stretch before Captain Kirk set all phasers to stun, surging past Louis-Philippe Roy and Allywag Hanover for the win. Mayhem Hanover closed on Moneyman Hill, who settled for 4th, and in 5th was Denali Sealster.
Allywag Hanover still there with the lead, but here comes Captain Kirk now. Captain Kirk is thundering up for McClure, and it's Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk to win the second Pepsi North America Cup elimination by a length over Allywag Hanover, Mayhem Hanover, Moneyman Hill, and Denali Sealster. A mile 149-3.
It really looks like he's just developed into a real strong racehorse this year.
Now he's grown into a big boy, and man, he's a nice horse now. One of the best in North America, I'd say.
Super trainer Tony Alagna also seeks his second North America Cup, this time with the maturing son of his first winner, Captain Treacherous, in 2013. Here are the finalists going postward on Saturday. Allywag Hanover, Captain Midnight, Captain Barbosa, Captain Kirk, Denali Sealster, Mayhem Hanover, Moneyman Hill, Odds On Osiris, Tall Dark Stranger, and Tattoo Artist. They've made it to the final. Let's see how they line up in the 37th edition of the Pepsi North America Cup.
Thank you again to Paul Savalaggio of the Woodbine Entertainment Group broadcast department putting that piece together. And it was aired last evening during the live post position draw for this year's Pepsi NA Cup. And there's how it shook out. The winners getting to choose post positions. Captain Kirk post 3, 1 of 3 for Tony Alanya in the field. Strength and numbers certainly there. And Tall Dark Stranger opting for post 4 right next door as Nancy Tactor looks to join only Bill Robinson as the only trainer to ever win back-to-back Pepsi North America Cup titles. So that's a look at the complete field. Reminder that Odds On Osiris starts from the second tier. Post 10 for the first time in the history of the Cup will be a second tier starting spot. So it's going to be a lot of fun as we look forward to that. And we welcome in now a couple of our special guests on tonight's show. Mark McKelvie from Woodbine Mohawk Park tonight. He is the communications director on the Standardbred side, and Yannick Gingras, he'll be the man behind Tall Dark Stranger this year. Yannick, looks like you're coming to us from a pretty nice location, your cottage that you've rented in Lake Simcoe, I believe. How are things going? You're kind of trying to make a mini vacation out of this, I understand.
Well, yeah, you know, because at the beginning I planned on doing the quarantine. I knew it'd probably be a long shot. I get an exemption at the border, so I got the cottage here on Lake Simcoe, but it's all because of Marvin Katz. You know, he went above and beyond to try to set us up and find us a place for my wife and kids to not be inside the 4 walls. So, I can't thank him enough. It really made it a nice vacation for sure. And, so we've been here for the 10, 11 days now. And, on Saturday, I guess I'll be free to go.
Yannick, it's obviously been well documented how everything played out for yourself, being able to come up here to race in this year's Pepsi North America Cup. But maybe take us back even further than the past couple of weeks. How far back did you start looking ahead at what you'd have to do in order to be up here to race?
Honestly, I don't think that many people that know that. I know you do, but it's been 2 or 3 months in the coming. The minute COVID started, and maybe a month after that, I started to make phone calls to, and I'm sure all these people at WEG, Jessica Buckley and Bill McClinchey, Mr. Lawson, they're probably annoyed with me, but I went months trying to figure it out, what they wanted from me, what they needed me to do. I was in contact with immigration, with Border Patrol, with Health Ontario. So I did my homework, and I know there's a lot of people that are not happy. And really, honestly, it really, the last couple of days has really gotten to me where it didn't bother me. I don't care. I'm Canadian, and I know I could come here, but it's bothering me that the way the people are. And I know who they are. That's the funny part, is that I know who they are, but they don't know I know that. But and the people that are complaining and stuff like that. I think I've done everything that's been asked of me and more. I could be out with the guys after the races. Last weekend, a couple of guys asked me to go for beers, and I said no, because you know what? I said I want to do it the right way. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go back to the house. I'm gonna just chill with my wife and kids, and I don't think it's cool. I really don't think it is. But I know in my heart I did what I had to do, and I didn't put anybody at risk. In the paddock, as you know, I was by myself. And, so it's been a month in the coming, and I know, like I said, I've made a lot of phone calls, and I did it all the right way.
Yannick, you've been forthcoming saying, this has hit home a little bit more the last couple of days. It's starting to bother you. Are you concerned at all that it's going to be a distraction for you as you head into one of the biggest races of the year?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Once I get on the racetrack, it's nothing to do with it. And realistically, Saturday, I'll be good to go. You know what I mean? It's more the people than the racing part of it. You know what I mean? As far as that, no, I can't wait to get on the racetrack. I can't wait to be able to go and and race horses and be done with all the side part of it. Because realistically, after Saturday, I'm one of them. I'm one of everybody else. I'm like you and both of you, and I can go in the paddock now. I can I can do whatever I want. So no, actually, it's going to be a nice relief on Saturday to be able to race horses and not have to worry about anything else.
This will be the first major event at Woodbine Mohawk Park since racing has resumed, and you were there on Saturday night. It's a lot different feeling. There's no doubt about that. Certainly didn't feel like Pepsi North America Cup eliminations, but you have taken part in some of the past, over the last couple of months, some of the bigger events in the sport, including Hambletonian Day. Maybe tell those at home watching what that experience was like. What was the differences that you noticed compared to a regular major day in the sport to where we are now in the current COVID era?
No, you're right about that. There's no doubt it's a big difference. Embo Day, as an example, there's I think there was 1,500 people there, but it looked completely empty. You know what I mean? Because it's a big facility. It's the same thing. You guys, I think you're gonna have 100 people there Saturday. It's gonna be like totally empty, and it's sad in a way, but it's the world we live in. It's nothing anyone can do about that. And it definitely takes away from like the highs and like the crowd and like the cheering and stuff like that. That we all thrive to be in it, to be part of it, and that's the fun part of racing horses. But also, I think we all understand. I do anyway. That it is what it is now, right? That's the best we can do about it. And I think you guys have done at WEG. I think you guys have done a tremendous job last weekend, like keeping everybody, like everything is organized. You guys are ready for it, and everything the way you're supposed to be doing things. The horses are going out the right way, and stuff like that. And it is the same thing at the Meadowland. I think Embo Day was really well done, and I think people were happy with the results. And I think everybody is doing their job and doing the best we can in the world we live in right now.
Well, one thing that will be the same, we'll have 10 horses going behind the gate Saturday. It'll be a horse race, and they certainly won't know the difference. Let's talk about it. Let's dive into the race and talk about Tall Dark Stranger. Going into the Elims last weekend, as expected, heavily favored. He got the job done, but he had to work harder than people probably thought he would, Yannick. Did we see Tall Dark Stranger at his best in the elimination?
No, you definitely did not. But I'm not one bit worried about it. I think part of it is him being off a week. I think he's better if he races back-to-back week. If you go back and look in the gear, like the top 10 gears at the Meadowland, he got beat, and he had the 10 hole, but the 10 hole was no reason. It's no reason why he got beat. He just wasn't quite as good that day as other times. And he come back the next week and he was crazy good in the cane pace. But part of that, I think it's a little bit my fault too. I raced him last week with like a 1-9 shot, thinking no, he can't get beat. Left him loafing in the post parade and like let him relax. And you can't only go so much with these horses and really push them at 100% every time. And so in the post parade, I was letting him be. If you watch the replay leaving the gate, like he was flat-footed leaving the gate, and he was just kind of half rolling, not paying attention. He took me all the way to the 3/8, even though I didn't rush him, but it took me a long way to clear. Still 26-1 to the quarter on the outside. And so believe me, he's going to be on his toes Saturday night when it's like the same way as I am on his toes in the Meadowland pace and the cane pace. And I'm sure Nancy going to train him a little bit harder this week, and the horse is going to be ready. There's no doubt in my mind, and I'm super confident in him. I think last week it just goes to show you how great of a horse he is. Like he was beat on both sides, and he just refused to lose. So to me, it's no concern.
It looks like you froze up.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I can hear you guys now.
Yeah. All right. Yannick, you spoke really highly of Tall Dark Stranger, obviously, last year, and why wouldn't you? It was an incredible rookie season. What have you seen change-wise from his 2-year-old to his 3-year-old season? Feels like he always had that heart and that grit and determination, and it's really been on display this season, especially in that win in the Meadowland Space.
I'm losing
it. Looks like he's frozen up again. So while we have a moment, Mark, let's set up the elimination replay from a week ago, and hopefully we can get his signal back and talk about that. We're going to ask Yannick in a moment, but he pointed in the post-race interview afterward to an bit of an equipment issue as well. And there he is. Looks like we've got him back on board. Yannick, welcome back. All right.
Yeah.
We're going to show the replay from a week ago, the elimination. We're going to get you to kind of walk us through it. And you said afterward you had a bit of an equipment issue. So maybe we'll get you to talk about that as we roll the replay from the start last week.
Yeah, in the stretch, I mean, well, if you're going to talk about the whole replay, you can see him there. Like, I was half leaving a little bit, and he's a little bit rolly there, just not really paying attention 100%. But, like, I think part of the reason why he was so close is right there. Instead of, like, getting in the hole or going forward, like, and I mean, he was kind of flat-footed, like I said earlier, and it took him a while to get there, even though, like, Sylvain was going to let me go. But it's still a big quarter for him, for any horse, really. So that, to me, that's part of a little bit my mistake there, or my fault being a little bit overconfident. But as far as the ear plugs, yeah, at the top of the stretch, I tried to kick him with my foot, and there was no response. That they weren't going nowhere. And then so I grabbed them up a second time with my foot again, and they didn't come out. And then it's a little bit my fault. Like, and then I reached out with my hand, and I really, like, tried to grab the whole thing, but I ripped the whole thing right out of his head. The earplug stayed in his ears, but the string was completely gone, and it was in my hands. But in insight, I should have just concentrated on making him go forward instead of worrying about getting him out. They weren't coming out, obviously. I think I could have jumped on his back. I'm not sure they would have came out. But yeah, so, like, it was unfortunate, but. At the end of the day, that he still won the race, and that the main goal this week was to get to pick our post position, and we still get to do that.
Yeah. So having said that, that's a good point, Yannick. You're criticizing yourself a little bit and saying that you maybe underestimated the competition. But so had he gotten picked off here and you ended up with post 8 or 9, I mean, how would you be beating yourself up over that?
Well, a little bit for sure, because that's what you want to do in the elimination, right? I mean, me anyway. I think some guys maybe take it for don't think it's that important to win the elimination, and they want to set the horse up maybe for the next week without killing them enough. But I've always believed that you go out there and try to win the elimination. And I mean, it seems like every time I get beat a nose in the elimination, I draw the 10-0. So, like, it's kind of like a kick in the butt every time. So. I try to do it every time and try to go and raise the horses. No, obviously you don't want to kill them because the big money is the next week. But I think it's so important to give it a shot. And yeah, so I would have kicked myself, and been a little mad at myself. We had not won, and but thankfully anyway that it didn't happen, and we won the race. And I definitely I didn't express myself correctly. I did not underestimate the competition, because I always respect the competition. I think Captain Midnight's a tremendous horse, and so is Anzana Osiris. And I mean, obviously the two are Ontario bred. I've heard great things about them. It's just that I felt like my horse is so good and so sharp right now that I think that sometimes I can let him loaf a little bit, and he's going to get the job done anyway. But at the end of the day, it's a horse race, and I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to make sure he's ready on this Saturday night.
You do talk about the competition that he's faced in that elimination. That might be one of the best finishes I've seen in a Pepsi North America Cup elimination ever. You've got the top 7 finishers all within about 2.5 lengths. What do you think that does for some of the other horses that from your elimination that qualified for the final, all being right there in the mix? It certainly has to give their connections a bit of hope.
Oh, no doubt about that. If I go out and win by 5, they all saying, okay, now we got to race for second. So they all going out there and thinking, we got a shot to beat him. I mean, believe me, if I was them, that's the way I would feel. So I totally get it. I understand it. And but on the other hand, if my horse was one-dimensional type of horse, then maybe I'd worry a little bit if he needed the front, or if he needed a trip, or if he needed this or that. Maybe it'll be a bigger difference, but he can do any which way I want. So if they go forward in 24 seconds, you'd be racing from second or third over. If they go slow, I'll be moving. If they don't go out of the gate, he'll be going forward. Like, I can do whatever I want. And that's a great thing about Tall Dark Stranger, is that there's no certain trip that he needs. His first start of the year, he went in 48 or whatever, and come from second over with a bad cover and become 25 on the end of it. So it doesn't matter to him. And even though I think I gave everybody a little bit of hope last Saturday, hopefully we take it away this week.
Well, that sounds like a guy that's very confident, and it's a different position for you, Yannick. And this is really mind-boggling to me, and we were talking about it. You haven't had much luck in this race. In fact, you haven't had really a horse come into the race favorite or even close to favorite going in. And I couldn't believe this when I looked it up today. You finished dead last in the last 3 editions. So that's all water under the bridge. Here you come in with a favorite. And how much would it mean to you personally to win one of the very few races in the sport that has eluded you to this point?
Well, as far as the past go, it doesn't worry me one bit. It's not like I've gotten beat with the favorite twice or, or something like that. Chad was talking about it Saturday night where the lowest shot I've ever had was 17-1 or something like that. So, so that part don't bother me one bit. I just think that I haven't gotten the right horse into the race. And, I've been very fortunate with the trotting fillies, the trotting colts, and the pacing fillies as well. But they just won division that I never had the right horse at this time of the year anyway. But as far as winning it, well, there's now, of course, with the Mohawk Million, now there's 3. But there's only 2 before in the past. There's been only $2 million races, right? So, no, any Cup is one of them. So it is no doubt it's at the top for any drivers. And I'm Canadian, of course, so that definitely plays a little more into that. That's a race I would love to win. I think the trophy is awesome too, so that's another good part. I think that you guys have a good trophy for the NA Cup. So, but all kidding aside, it definitely no doubt it would mean a lot, especially this year even more so because, like we had talked earlier in the show, is all the sacrifices, all the changes that I've had to do and my family has had to do. It'd mean that much more, and of course I'm going to be here for 6 weeks, so it's not the only race, but it is the race why I came. If it wasn't for Tall Dark Stranger, I'd probably still be in the U.S. right now. So there's no doubt it would mean a lot.
Yannick, when you're going through the winter months after a campaign like we saw last year with Tall Dark Stranger, just an incredible 2-year-old year, how often do you find yourself starting to think ahead to what the future could hold with him? And now that we're in the midst of the season, is this what you had expected going back in those winter months when he was getting ready for his 3-year-old campaign?
Yeah, I thought about it quite a bit. Probably every Monday and Thursday when I was going to the farm and going with him. I was all kidding aside. I was at the farm quite a few times this winter, going with him and the babies and stuff. I love it. Working in the mornings and especially with the babies. The 3-year-olds and the age horse is a little bit different. The works is different. They don't change quite as much from week to week. But yeah, there's no doubt. Like I said earlier, I didn't have much power as far as 3-year-old pacing colts as in the past, so it was no doubt, bar none, not even close, the best 3-year-old I've ever had coming back. It doesn't even compare to the other ones, and it's no offense to any of the other ones, but it's just the way it is. So I was looking forward to all these big races, the NA Cup, the Meadowland Pace, Breeders' Crown, Kentucky, so the Jug. So yeah, there's no doubt you think about it over the winter. You hope the horse is going to come back as good as he was at 2. And I had, obviously no reason to believe he wouldn't be, but you just don't know until they come back on the track and do it. You can take it as easy as you want on them at 2. You can quit early, which I think the ownership group and Nancy done a great job last year. We could have kept going after the Breeders' Crown, and they could have gone to the Governor's Cup, and they could have gone to the Matron at Dover Down, and they decided to quit with him. Which is 100% the right thing to do, in my opinion, but you don't know. Sometimes people do it and they don't come back any good at 3 anyway. So, I think everybody's happy with where he's at now and how he came back.
Well, you talk about the anticipation and wondering how he would come back this year, like all of us were, but he made a statement right off the bat. He came out of the gate flying this year, was very good in that first start, carried that form into the Meadowlands Pace, and we want to take a look at that replay. So similar to last week where it looked like at one point you might be vulnerable and going to go down to defeat, that was the same case at the Meadowlands as we take a look back to that race. Just talk about that effort and maybe a thought on Poppy Rob Hanover, who unfortunately had a career-ending injury, but what kind of rivalry we could potentially have seen between these 2 colts all season long.
Well, there's no doubt it's a shame because even though it definitely helped Tall Dark Stranger and myself that he's not there. I think the sport needed that rivalry like that. I think they're two tremendous colts. I have all the respect in the world for Pappy Rob Hanover. I think he's a scary fast horse. He's a great horse as well, and I think everybody, not myself, the sport in general, or harness racing would have maybe you make the news with a rivalry like that, two colts going at it every week, and we would have gone at it. And no doubt in my mind, maybe at some point he would have beat me, and I would have beat him. Hopefully more often than not, I would have beat him. But they're two great colts, and post position is going to make a difference for sure. But in that race, watching that replay, I was beat. He was half a length by me, but that's what Tall Dark Stranger does. Tall Dark Stranger just doesn't quit. He's just going to keep on going. And I've said it before, and it's the same thing that happened last year in the Breeders' Crown. That's how he is. He's a fighter. You know what I mean? Like that day in the Meadowland Pace, he was beat, and he came back. In the Breeders' Crown, he was beat, and he was coming back. And Saturday night at Mohawk, they were coming on each side. He just refused to lose. There's some horses that can go really fast and it can get the job done. There's other horses that just do what they have to do, and that's how he is. He does what he has to do, but he wins. At the end of the day, that's what matters. It doesn't matter if you win by 5 or 10 or win by a neck. As long as you get the job done, it's good by me.
Well, one final question I wanted to ask you. The Pepsi NA Cup, we're at the end of August, and this is new territory, having this race go at this time of year. Typically, it's raced before the Meadowlands Pace, early in the season, where we're still trying to find out who's who. But talk about the schedule and what impact, if any, you think it's had on the horse in terms of how sharp or whether he's on top of his game coming into the Pepsi NA Cup. Would he be at the same stage as he would have been back in June, do you think?
Oh, I think he would. I think it's all credit to Nancy. I think she's done a great job. I think all spring long, even though people was on house arrest or whatever you want to call it, everybody was home and couldn't do anything. They were working there. I was going to the barn, and these horses were training. She was like, change the schedule and this and that, trying to keep them happy. And then you had 2 months where you're trying to keep them on hold. You're trying to keep them sharp enough to, if they had to qualify the next week, they'd be ready to go. Yet you don't want to go on 55 with them every week. So I think all credit goes to Nancy, the way she handled it. He was ready to go the first time out, which happened to be the beginning of June. But I think he would have been ready for NA Cup if he came June 15th or June 20th as he was supposed to be. And he's ready this week. I think the horse is he's a great horse, and she's done a great job, and hopefully we can finish it on Saturday night.
Well, thank you so much, Yannick, for taking some time out tonight from your vacation. Hope you're enjoying it. Looks like the kids are having a great time, and hopefully you all are. And again, want to thank you so much and wish you the best of luck and a safe trip this weekend.
Thank you very much. Anytime, guys.
All right, that's Yannick Gingras. He'll be guiding Tall Dark Stranger from Post 4 in Saturday night's Pepsi North America Cup. We'll take another break, and when we come back, we'll hear from another driver who's going to be prominent in this Saturday night's Big Dance.
All right.
All right, good night, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
Dark Horse. Download the app today.
And welcome back to COSA-TV special coverage of the Pepsi North America Cup, previewing that marquee event coming up this Saturday night. $1 million on the line once again, and a fabulous undercard of the 13-race program. The who's who of the stakes world will be here this Saturday evening. Want to give you another look at the field for this year's edition of the Pepsi NA Cup and how they're going to line up on the starting gate this Saturday night. A reminder that the post-10 starter this year leads from the second tier, and that belongs to odds-on Osiris. Tony Alanya with 3 horses in the field this year. He's got strength in numbers, looking for his second title, as is conditioner Nancy Tactor, looking to join only Bill Robinson as the conditioner of back-to-back winners of the Pepsi North America Cup. Great to have you tuning in this evening, wherever you are joining us from across North America and around the world. And leave us a comment tonight. And for everybody that does, you'll be automatically entered into a draw following tonight's broadcast for a $100 HPI Bet gift card. We will announce the winner on our social media platforms following the show, and hopefully get that mailed out in time for you to perhaps enjoy the program this weekend through the HPI Bet platform, or perhaps the new Dark Horse app. So leave us a comment, let us know what you think about the show or where you're tuning in from tonight, and you'll be entered in that draw. Another gentleman who is looking forward to his second appearance of the Pepsi North America Cup this weekend is driver Bob McClure, one of the rising stars in the sport and one of the top local reinsmen. He's driving tonight at Mohawk Park, so we caught up with him earlier this afternoon and pre-taped this segment and got his thoughts as he looks ahead to Saturday night. All right, we want to thank Bob McClure for taking a few moments out of his day to join us here this afternoon and talk Pepsi NA Cup this weekend. Bob, we want to congratulate you, first of all, for getting not one but 2 horses through to the rich $1 million final. I'm thinking a lot of people would have expected that you would be going with the elimination winner in Captain Kirk, but you've stuck with Tattoo Artist. Maybe tell us about how that decision came about.
Well, about 3 weeks ago, I was offered the opportunity to drive Captain Barbosa, Captain Midnight, and Captain Kirk in the elims. I opted to stick with the Ontario side horse. 1, because I think he's more than capable, and 2, because I'd picked off him before, got beat by him, and they still offered me to drive back, so I had a lot of respect for that. He's got a lot of money to be made here in the Ontario Sire Stakes program. It's a lucrative program. I think I wouldn't trade him right now for anybody anyway.
So really kind of a long-term strategy. Like you said, you obviously think he's a contender going into the final, but you're thinking big picture.
Yeah, big picture, but again, like you said, definitely contender. He went 49 flat, home 26 flat, locked in the whole stretch. If he had a little more breathing room, he was right there.
Well, Captain Kirk certainly looks like a major contender based on his elimination victory. Let's get you to talk a little bit about that. We're going to throw to it here in a second. But what was your approach, first of all, coming into the race? Allywag Hanover looked like the horse to beat on paper. What were your thoughts going into the elim, and did you think you could haul him down?
Well, when I drove him at 2, he was very sure-footed off the gate. You could pretty well do whatever you wanted with him, but he was big and growthy, and you could tell he got a little maybe immature physically down the lane. But when I went to see him this year, what a bull of a horse. He just looked amazing. And so when I went to leave off the rail with him, I tried to time him in and do my best to get away with him. He got caught completely flat-footed, got kind of sideways, and I ended up getting away terrible, absolutely terrible. Luckily for me, they went a big first quarter regardless, and Louis Waugh backed the middle half down pretty big, which helped me. Was able to get him into the race and float him right up there without using any effort. And from there, it was just at the head lane. I popped the plugs. Louis set the race up so I had to come 25 to beat him, which he did his job, and Captain Kirk, he did. He came 25 and he beat him like a good horse. He mowed him down.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the elimination now, and maybe you can walk us through the early stages, especially where you said
into the stretch.
At the start you weren't really happy with how things unfolded.
No, the rail's a very hard spot at Mohawk to get away from, but he was sideways to boot and got brushing a knee a little bit, which I'm sure they'll get him off of, and you can expect he'll be getting out of there a lot better in the final. But yeah, no, I wasn't happy with the start. I wish I'd been a little more prepared for that, but having said that, it worked out in the end.
So right in here, there's Louis crossing over relatively easily, I guess, for a horse of that caliber. I mean, stretched out a little bit to the quarter, but crosses over. So right in here, are you realistically thinking win? Or are you thinking, let's just make sure, we get the right kind of trip to get into that final?
No, I thought that it was a 2-horse race, and I really thought that Louis had used his horse a lot in the opening stages, and I still thought we had a good shot, especially when I saw him back it down. I think if he had gotten an even bigger middle half, I think it would have been tough for me because I would have had to come a lot further and a lot harder on that turn. But I was able to really just coast, which made things easier. Even here, just coasting, and he made it into a 2-quarter race, and my horse was just faster in the last quarter.
That's interesting because I would have thought as an observer maybe the opposite. You'd want to see those really big fractions and have him come back to you. So that's interesting to hear you say that, Bob. But still in here, you've got about a good 2 lengths to make up, and you're trying to haul down a really good horse. Right in here, do you think you're going to reach?
Yeah, I actually did. I really did. He felt great. And like I say, Louis drove his horse great. Louis drove his horse so that I had to come 25 seconds to beat him. And, 9 times out of 10, maybe more, that gets it done. But he just simply had, I think, a better horse bearing down on him.
So Captain Kirk, full marks to the victory. That's a big final quarter. A couple of things. He has to close in sub 26 seconds himself, and he hauls down a really top flight colt. Allywag Hanover, you would have to say, is one of the 3 or 4 top colts in North America. So going into the final, where do you rank Captain Kirk? Let's talk about him before we talk about the colt you'll actually drive.
I don't think I could rank the colts this year, Greg, to be honest with you. I was looking today, and I think the most impressive elimination result horse was Captain Barbosa. Captain Barbosa, he was out the whole last turn. He was, I think, 3rd over. I was beside him at the wire, and he was running over Tall Dark Stranger. He came 25-3, 49 flat, running over the best horse in North America. And he finished 4th. And between Tattoo Artist, Captain Trevor, Captain Barbosa, Tall Dark Stranger, Captain Kirk, Allywag won a big trip. And all those horses, like Sirius Blue Chip surprised a lot of people after, and he won the Milstein. He proven it. I don't think you can rank them. I think it's a very even. Obviously, the horse to beat because of his credentials is Tall Dark Stranger, and but he even looked somewhat vulnerable or beatable at the very least. I couldn't rank them. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to come down to whoever gets the best trip and whoever has the freshest horse and the best horse on that day.
Yeah, you're right. Tall Dark Stranger, based on the elimination win, isn't going to be scaring everybody off like he may otherwise have. So, from a fan's perspective, that deficit in trade. Let's talk Tattoo Art. Again, his credentials this year were impeccable, especially here in Ontario. You had the other Ontario standout, Beaumont Hanover, and of course, Tall Dark Stranger. But for Tattoo Artist, you changed up tactics this time around from what we'd seen all year. And was that really based on the increased level of competition he was facing?
Well, if anybody ever sees Tattoo Artist in a field somewhere and you're told that's Tattoo Artist, they won't believe you. He's not a good-looking horse. He's really not. He's kind of he's in a group of colts that look like, maybe supermodels or superheroes, and he's kind of just the Robin of that division. But he's not flashy, he's not big, but what he is extremely fast. And I always said the day I get to race him off a helmet will be the day that he turns some heads. And I had anticipated he'd just kind of cross to the front and, let Tall Dark Stranger go and go from there. And I kind of, with how fast he can leave, I think I got a little overconfident. I didn't have him on his toes enough. I think he could have snapped right to the front. Would have made my life a lot easier. But he got out left by Sylvain, and Sylvain had the same game plan I did. Can't fault him for that. And I end up locked in praying. And I think in the last turn I could actually hear Doc Moore screaming. So, and then I jerked him out to go in between Sylvain and Yannick, and that shut off. I jerked him in, and there was a horse coming off the rail, and I tried to jerk him back out. But the fifth time I jerked him sideways, I finally had the lane, and I know it doesn't look like he had much at the wire, but he'd been jerked 5 different directions. He was coming 26 flat, and he still went forward enough to get himself in the final. So you got to give him a lot of credit for that. And that's the reason why, you can't teach that. When, you leave, get jammed up, locked in, jerk them all over the racetrack, drive them terrible, and you find a lane, they still go forward. You can't teach that. So I have a lot of respect for the little horse.
Talk about the post draw. Satisfied with where he drew, and will we see maybe you reverting a little bit back to that early speed he's known for?
I was actually quite happy with that. I was hoping that he wouldn't draw the inside because I knew that there would be outside levers, and I wanted to be the farthest out leaving because I think then you work your way to the front in the turn. He'll definitely be going forward 100%, and he'll be really on his toes this week, and it'll be, for lack of a better term, balls to the wall.
Talk about the experience. I don't think being on the big stage in a race with $1 million is something you're going to shy away from. You've already won the Hamiltonian. But the experience of being in the big dance last year, how much will that play into this year? And how different do you think it's going to be, the experience racing in front of only a limited number of spectators when typically there would be 12 to 15,000 people jamming Mohawk and a real buzz?
That's a great point, because last week when we went out for the North American Cup of Limbs, it didn't even feel like it. There wasn't the same amount of buzz. And, hopefully next week that changes. Hopefully next week there's the electricity in the air. You got the TSN cameras around and stuff like that. But the people make it that night, I think. And I hope it's a little more electric, but it was definitely different. Having said that, it's still a $1 million race. You're still representing owners. You're still representing the horse. You gotta, put your best foot forward. You gotta represent them as best you can. There's a lot on the line, and there's still going to be some stress, but it's a lot of fun to have horses in those races. It's a lot of fun to look forward to all week.
Absolutely. So let's get you to maybe make a bold prediction here. Can Tattoo Artist win the $1 million Pepsi North America Cup?
Yeah.
There you go. You heard it here first. Bob, we want to thank you again for taking... Go ahead.
Sorry, I think he's got as good a shot as anybody. I really do. I have a lot of faith in this horse.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. Locally in Ontario, he's developed a big following, and a lot of people were anxious to watch that elimination, and we're hoping he'd get into the final so we get a chance to see him redeem himself a little bit after last week. And I want to wish you good luck. Again, I know it wasn't a real easy decision after winning so impressively with Captain Kirk, but you mentioned it, you're committed to Tattoo Artist, and hopefully he can justify that for you. Best of luck, and have a safe trip this Saturday night.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Bob McClure and Tattoo Artist, some of the great local connections this year, chasing that $1 million purse in Saturday night's $1 million Pepsi North America Cup final.
Enjoy the thrill of the race anywhere, anytime with HPIBet.com. Join for free and use your smartphone, tablet, or PC to watch and wager when you can't be at the track. Stream live racing from over 450 tracks. Bet with ease from anywhere. It's safe and secure. Get rewards, race alerts, tips, and more. For a limited time, get $100 when you become a member. Plus, 1 month free live race streaming and your first bet is on us. Go to HPIBet.com to join for free today.
And welcome back. You're watching the Pepsi NA Cup preview show, the big event coming up this Saturday night, the 29th of August, for a cool $1 million. And off the top, we asked you in our poll question whether you thought trainer Nancy Tactor would join Bill Robinson as the only trainer to ever win back-to-back Pepsi North America Cup titles, and she would become the first female trainer to accomplish the feat. Yes or no, it's that simple. Leave your comments for us in the comment box wherever you're tuning in tonight on our various social media channels. You'll automatically be entered for our grand prize draw coming up in our season finale for that urban e-bike. And from all of our comments tonight as well, we're going to be drawing, following the broadcast, for a $100 HPI Bet gift card. Wonderful prize. Thank you to the folks at Woodbine Entertainment for providing that. So some added reasons perhaps to join us for that coverage coming up this weekend from Woodbine Mohawk Park. And it's time to talk handicapping next in our final segment here this evening. We want to welcome back Mark McKelvie, who's joining us tonight. Robert Reid Jr., he's the author of the Horse Players Journal that many folks read religiously in the Woodbine Mohawk Park program. And Garnet Barnsdale, he's the Woodbine Mohawk handicapper for DRF Harness. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. And Rob, let's start with you. Talk about the post position draw first of all. We knew where the 3 and the 4, the elimination winners, would be leaving. We knew they'd have good post positions. Who else do you think really benefited from the post draw of the others?
Well, I mean, for myself, I landed on the favorites in the race. So, I look to, Captain Midnight, obviously, getting post 5. I mean, he really couldn't have landed in a better spot. And, for me, the 10 odds on Osiris from the trailing position, I know that can pose some problems for horses and has done so in the recent past, but I think it's not the worst spot for this one to be following out and hopefully sitting a trip. The one that I think actually is going to be affected negatively is Alleywag Hanover in post number 8. Overcame post 7 last time, but this is the final now, and I don't think he'll be able to get an easy go of it like he did last time, especially from the 8 hole.
And for you, Garnet, just overall, did the post draw, in your opinion, enhance the kind of final we're going to see?
I'm not sure. I think for my, a negative post draw for me was probably number 10, odds on Osiris. I think he likes to be mixing it up early, and I don't know that that's a real good post for him. Honestly, it's a perfect post for the big favorite. I think Tall Dark Stranger is going to be awfully hard to beat from middle of the gate post here.
And Mark, a thought from you. We heard the poll question a moment ago, or we saw that, and it's pretty much unanimous on this panel. You're in agreement as well. Tall Dark Stranger, the horse to beat. We got to speak with Yannick a few moments ago. Did that just simply reinforce your selection?
Well, it does. He's always been confident in this horse, and he has gone on last year at 2 and even into this 3-year-old season, just speaking so highly of him. And it's really hard to go against him in this spot. I think the draw sets up for a race that could be very entertaining right from start to finish. But sometimes I worry about that, because when you see a draw come out and you see a few that you think, well, they got to leave and he's got to leave, then they don't leave because everybody in the race thinks, well, he's leaving, so maybe I'll just take back, and you don't maybe see that early action. I'm not so sure that'll be the case this weekend. I think there's a lot of drivers in this spot who this is a chance to race in the Pepsi North America Cup. They're not going to let it go to waste. They want to get their money's worth. But for Yannick Gingras and Tall Dark Stranger, I think there is a bit of versatility there. Yeah, he's got to be up close. There's no doubt about that. But Yannick he's got lots of time, as we saw sitting at the cottage, to map this one out. I think he'll have all the scenarios played out instead.
And Rob, if there's one good thing about it, Tall Dark Stranger winning only narrowly in the elimination, so not really scaring off the competition with that effort. And Yannick even admitted that earlier tonight, that probably other drivers and other connections in the race are going to have increased confidence coming in. So there could be some mixing it up. If they're going to haul down the probable favorite, how is it going to happen in your opinion?
That's a tough one, because it really depends on what kind of trip Tall Dark Stranger is going to go. And I mean, when that elimination finished, I was certainly concerned. I know that on this panel, I can speak for myself and Garnet. I think that we're two of the biggest Tall Dark Stranger fans on the planet. And I was a little bit concerned until I heard that the earplugs didn't come out. If you watch this horse's races, especially south of the border, he needs to be, urged pretty heavily at times, and I think the plugs not coming out was a huge detriment to his performance and only winning by a head. So for him to get beat, it really depends on what Yannick's plan is. I think that the front end is going to be busy. I believe that the 10 odds on Osiris can, I didn't put him in my top 3, but he is my 4th selection in the journal. I think he can map out a decent trip. I know he likes the front end. But he's one, that I think could be a price play that might become a factor late in the mile. But really, to understand how you beat him, it's tough, because he can really win from off the pace or win in the front end. I really think that what it comes down to is that he just doesn't get beat. I really firmly believe that, and I'm not a fan of taking 3 to 5, but I'm also not a fan of betting against a horse I don't think can lose.
Well, a lot of people are going to try and find a horse or a couple of options in case he's just not the Tall Dark Stranger that we've become accustomed to seeing. So you're looking for horses that look live in the eliminations, that were maybe blocked, that were flying late. And Garnet, I'll throw this one at you. We heard from Bob McClure earlier. He touched on a couple. Tattoo Artist, who he drove. He said, he had to do a lot of zigzagging. It took a lot out of his horse. And he felt like he had a lot of pace at the end. And then he mentioned Captain Barbosa. Now, I know he's got post 9, but he had the fastest individual final last week, and was running right up on Tall Dark Stranger. Do you give horses like that any merit? Are they going to find their way onto your ticket at all?
I think Tattoo Artist, the way this lines up, is probably going to be the first leader in this race. I don't think there's much choice here from strategy standpoint. I think Bob's going to blast, try to make the front, probably let Tall Dark Stranger go on the backstretch. So I think he's got a big shot to finish in the top 3. A horse like Captain Barbosa, post 9 is the great equalizer in races like this. But, it wouldn't shock me if he snuck into 4th again, passing a few of them. I couldn't see him winning the race from post 9, but absolutely, he might sneak into 3rd or 4th in the Super at big odds here.
Okay, and before we dive into handicapping that race and talking about how you're going to play the race, Mark, maybe just a thought on the overall program Saturday night. 13 races, really some of the top young horses and even some of the better older horses in North America are here. Stakes-laden program. But sometimes those aren't great betting programs. There's a lot of chalk on nights like that. But how does the card look to you overall from a horse player's perspective?
Yeah, you bring up a good point there. You are going to probably get some short prices, there's no doubt about that. But overall, when you look at a card like this and you've got 2 stake races like the Nastiga Way and Internal Damnation, those are races that were always on this date. They were always scheduled for August 29th. So you move all those cup races over to this night. And the one thing about those races is you're not guaranteed always big fields. And of course, with 21 in the Internal Damnation, that forces 3 7s. We've got 2 big fields in the Nastiga Way, which set up real nice, and they're part of an all-stakes pick 5. Overall, though, I look at this as there's lots of opportunities on this card. I think, we'll get into some of the other races, but I think there's a couple favorites that could be vulnerable. And it's about giving people an opportunity, right? And I think for some, when they're playing those multi-legs, like those pick 5s, they like to find a key. So maybe it's Atlanta there in that early pick 5 for sure. But I think there's some pretty tough races throughout that sequence as well. Overall, though, if you're just a racing fan, how can you not love what you're going to see here on Saturday night? 9 of the 13 races are stakes. You've got a preferred pace that features a Breeders' Crown champion, 2 Breeders' Crown champions. In fact, you've got American History, Dancing Lou. That's a nice little preview for the Canadian Pacing Derby a week later. And you've also got the Jackpot High Five mandatory payout. So there's a lot to love about this card, and really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, let's show our selections for the big race. We've each given our top 3 picks, and we are unanimous. We all think Tall Dark Stranger, despite the narrow victory in the elimination, is going to get it done. Yannick Gingras certainly believes he'll be even better this week, and I think he's going to have to be, frankly, if he is going to win the Pepsi North America Cup and give Yannick his first victory in this rich event. But then we go in a few different directions for second and third, and that's where we're obviously trying to find some value in those exotic wagers. So let's talk about how to play the race, and I'll kind of throw this at each of you. And Rob, we'll start with you. How do you try and maximize a race like this where you think there's going to be a heavy favorite and you think he's going to be the winner?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I'll likely do is certainly key Tall Dark Stranger and some multi-leg wagers. But for this race in particular, I generally like to play exactas, but I think even the prices of the exactas are going to be kind of short in this race as well if he does win. So I'm going to go for the gusto, and if I had $100 to spend, I would take a $25 trifecta, and I would take 4 over the 3 with the 5-10, and then reverse it 4 with 5-10 with 3. So that's Tall Dark Stranger over Captain Kirk, and then with Captain Midnight and Odds on Osiris for third, looking for Odds on Osiris to provide the value to that ticket. I think the margin between the top horses to the bottom horses in this race is vast. And I think that Alleywag Hanover, being one of those top horses, is vulnerable from post 8. Captain Barbosa, for me, a horse that finished with all kinds of pace, that's going to happen generally, right? 25-3 on the end of it, but he didn't do any racing. So if the race falls apart and gets a similar trip, sure, maybe. But I just personally, on an even playing field with these type of horses, I don't see it happening on Saturday night.
Garnet, you've got a $100 mythical bankroll. How do you play the Cup race?
Well, first of all, I would use some pick 5 tickets. I think race 9 and race 10 are wide open here. The Nasagaweya for Colts and the Roses are Red. I think those are 2 of the best races of the night. Races 7 and 8 you could probably narrow down a little bit. As a matter of fact, I have some pick 4 tickets that are going to show up in the program insert. So if people want to check that out, I'm not going to go through the tickets, but if you put a gun to my head and said bet $100 on the race, I'm taking a $100 exactor with Captain Midnight second. He's come second to him twice in a row at good a price. I really liked this race last week. And one thing about Tall Dark Stranger that I think people are missing is he races so much better in a 7-day rotation. Nobody's really spoken about that, I don't think, yet. In the cane pace and the Meadowlands pace, he's got 2 sub-148 miles coming back in a week. So I think he's going to be much better this week, and I'm not going to try to beat him. But I'd take a $100 exactor with Captain Midnight second.
All right, Mark. Now, you'll be busy that night, but let's pretend you've got the $100 mythical bankroll. How would you divvy that up?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Garnet said about playing those pick 5s. That's what I'd be looking at. I know our multi-leg wagers and the pick 5 specifically have just been so popular. The early ones can have a big $100,000 guarantee on the card, and that all-stakes pick 5. Garnet touched on it. That Roses Are Red, I think, is wide open. I think you could find a real nice price. So I'd be spending a little bit on a lot of those tickets. A couple things to keep in mind for the North America Cup is some of the history of this race and the fact that, we're talking so much about Tall Dark Stranger, and you're trying to guess what he's going to go off at and what he'll, what his payout would be if he is able to click. Well, the lowest winner of all time in the Pepsi North America Cup is $2.70. That happened twice. Jake Lobel in 1987 and Presidential Ball back in 1993. And for those of you who like to play the exacta, the lowest exacta ever is $8.10, and that was Gothic Dream and Village Jasper. So what stands out a little bit to me there, though, is the fact that we're going back to the 80s and 90s for a lot of those returns there that are sort of the records per se for the Pepsi North America Cup. So should this race ever come in with Tall Dark Stranger over Captain Kirk, let's say, I'm not sure that would actually be the lowest exacta payout. I think Captain Midnight, as Garnet alluded to, is one that is right there. That would be probably a very popular play of many of those.
Yeah, kind of ironic. Our special guest drawmaster yesterday was none other than Steve Condren, who engineered the longest priced winner in the history of the event with Goalie Jeff way back in 1989. But yeah, there have been some low prices and many in between. So we aren't really sure what to expect this Saturday night, and that's what really makes it exciting and fun to look forward to. So we gave you guys the $100 Mythical bankroll, and don't forget we are going to be giving out an actual $100 HPI bet card following tonight's show, and we'll announce that winner via our social media channels. Guys, I know we only had the post draw last night and then the overall draw for the program today, so you haven't had a lot of time to dissect the entire program, but I'll put you all on the spot just before we wrap up to maybe give us one other horse on the card that you're really looking forward to watching, or that you have been keeping your eye on, that you're looking forward to perhaps playing in your tickets on Saturday night. Rob, we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It'll depend on the price, but a race that I'm looking forward to, because I've been working through the journal for this card and I'm watching a lot of replays, is race number 2, the Eternal Damnation for 2-year-old fillies. Bet on Becky has the rail, and I think that she's been by far the most impressive, rookie filly in Canada. And up against Caviar Audrey, who I really didn't know too much about till I watched her replays, and just ultra impressive. Her lifetime debut was incredible, coming home in 25 and change at the Meadowlands, literally from nowhere, to win with a back half and 53 and change. Just an incredible effort in her debut, and then disqualified in a division of the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes when she actually ran out on the turn, interfered with a rival, kind of went off stride herself, and then collected herself back up and went on to win. So that's a race that I'm really looking forward to. I give Bet on Becky the edge in there. I think that she is definitely the horse to beat, and I will be on her if somehow Caviar Audrey does take the support I'm hoping she does take. But no doubt about it, looking forward to that race, because both fillies have been incredible and look incredible coming into this race, and I'm really interested to see who comes out on top.
Garnet, what about you?
Yeah, there's a horse in race 9, the Nassagaweya Stakes for Colts and Geldings, that I really like. Number 3, Island Beach Boy. I bet him in the Dreammaker final last time out. He got on some really bad cover, was backed up, kind of got in a bit of a blind switch at the top of the stretch, and when he got clear, he was absolutely flying. He ran at a racetrack. He paced home in 26 and 4, and there's a lot of horses in this race that are going to take action. Like, you got a horse from the 9 hole, a buck a bet Hanover, that just paced a 151 and 3 miles. So I think I'm going to get some good value on this horse, and I'm looking at Island Beach Boy to make some dough on Saturday night.
I like it. The Marcel Barrio pupil. And Mark, what about yourself?
For myself, for a couple of the horses that I'll be keeping my eye on this Saturday night are the ones that did come from the U.S. that have already been here now for a week, and they've been able to acclimatize a little better. One that stands out, though, is in the Fan Hanover, and I know a lot of people will be all over the Party Girl Hill bandwagon. Of course, why not? She's undefeated. She really did some sprinting there in the lane, holding off Lady Lou in her elimination. But there's something about her that I think she's vulnerable. I could see her having that undefeated streak finally broken this week. And there's a few horses in there that I'm going to keep my eye on. Of course, Peak the Sneaky was fantastic in the other elimination, but maybe keep your eye on Priceless. This was a filly that really dabbled us at 2. She's had some good efforts at 3. Brandon Bates is center up here to trainer Casey Coleman Hurley, and this one is now going to have a week in her barn. Jonathan Drury will take over, and you never know. I think Priceless, she's always shown that ability, and maybe this will be the week where she's able to really step back up and show us what we saw there at 2.
And you mentioned Jonathan Drury picking up a big drive there, and that's another good point we should mention. A lot of our top local drivers are going to get more opportunity this Saturday night with the current situation, and that's great to see, and I'm sure they are all pumped and looking forward to Saturday night, as are we as fans of the sport, certainly, but all guys that work closely with it as well. So let's recap our selections again in the Pepsi North America Cup as we wrap up our preview show tonight. We are unanimous with Tall Dark Stranger in the main event. A couple of us have used the logical Captain Kirk underneath from post 3, but Mark and Garnet going to try and beef up that exactor payout, going in a different direction there. But we're pretty close in our selections overall, and we'll see how that plays out this Saturday night. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us again. I know you're going to be very busy finishing up your selections and comments and getting ready for the weekend. Good luck to all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
That's Reid Jr., Garnet Barnsdale, and Mark McKelvie. And the lights have gone out on me here. So that, I think, is a good time to wrap up the show. Live TV. You've got to love it. All right, let's take a look at what's coming up next here on COSA-TV. We've got a busy month of September coming up here, of course, with the Canadian Pacing Derby kicking things off. We'll be at Woodbine Mohawk Park throughout the month of September with 4 shows. The Wellwood Memorial on the 12th. A week later, the Canadian Trotting Classic, the Mohawk Million and Metro Pace on September 26th. And looking ahead to the month of October when racing returns here in London, Ontario at Western Fair, we'll have a special presentation of the OSS Gold divisions on that night. So lots to look forward to. Visit COSATV.ca for full details. Thank you again for joining us tonight. Looking forward to seeing you this Saturday night watching in from Woodbine Mohawk Park.
COSA, the Central Ontario Standardbred Association, proudly serving Ontario horse people with integrity and accountability. Collaborative, supportive, helping to ensure a vibrant harness racing industry. Lifetime membership is free and there are many benefits. Become a new member today. COSA, representing the interests of horse people racing at Ontario racetracks. To find out more, visit COSAonline.com.